Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome back to my channel, True Talk with Ericka Sallee, where I encourage women to focus on personal well-being, empower them to live fulfilled, and to transform into the best versions of themselves. I took a little hiatus at the end of 2024, and now I'm back for the new year. And what better way to kick it off than a conversation with Karen Falkler about strength, prioritizing yourself, and more. Take a listen. So hello and welcome, Karen Falkler. I'm super excited to be having this conversation with you. I got to tell you, and I want to let people know that Karen and I met, and I want to give a shout out to the Carroll County Women's Conference that was held in Westminster, Maryland in October. Gosh, it seems like so long ago, right? Karen and I had a conversation. We were both presenters at the conference, which was amazing for over 300 women. And the moment that she and I started talking, it was just like there was this thing that went off, this radiance and this excitement about so many things that we have in common. And so I thought it was so fitting for us to start the year off with a conversation that I think all of us need. We're going to be talking about self-care and strength and resilience and all the things that at this time that we are all in, we need to fall back on. So before we get started and before you hear from Karen, I want to take this opportunity to just introduce her to you. Karen Falkler is the founder and CEO of Falkler Advisory. She's an executive coach, advisor, motivational speaker, and proactive specialist in the subject of wellness and leadership, very near and dear to my heart. She works with leaders around the globe and has been internationally awarded for her work. Go, Karen. Her philosophy is strong leaders live and show others how to do the same. Karen, welcome to True Talk with Ericka Sallee.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Let's just jump right into it. This conversation about self-care, personal wellness, and well-being is something that is foundational to everything that I believe about how to take care of myself, and it's what I impart to my clients. So I want to ask you this question. What do you consider to be the key components of wellness?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. So I think that there are four really key components to our wellness, and that is our physical wellness, our mental wellness, our communication and relationships, and our experience of time and energy. Our physical wellness affects our mental wellness, and our mental wellness affects our physical wellness. They influence how we talk to ourselves, how we interact with our families, and how we interact with the people around us in the world. And then those three things, like our physical wellness, mental wellness, and communication, they influence how we experience time, as well as how much energy we have, how much energy we use, and then how much time we have here on Earth.
It's not easy for people to take care of themselves. They don't put themselves first. They prioritize everything else and everybody else except themselves. They don't really understand the importance of shifting that energy and that time back into them unless something happens to force that. So was there something in particular that made you focus on, oh, it's important for Karen to take care of Karen?
I think that, like, for me personally, it was a combination of the pandemic and then losing my parents. So it was like, there's this professional journey, but then this very personal journey that was, taking care of two parents who were very young, 62 and 64 when they passed away. And then seeing the pandemic and then saying, oh my gosh, like it doesn't have to be this way. And I have to do something. And so I went on a road trip and I just felt like I was being called to do more. When I came back, I said, all right, time to get to work.
Was it the determination to say, I want my own space to be different, or what was the thing that in your mind as you were going through that hiatus or that time away that really hit you?
My values are love, life, family, curiosity, and work. And I said, if I can live a life every single day that I get to be me, then like then I'm really honoring myself.
And I think, I know we're talking about wellness and personal care but I think what you just said touches on the other conversation or part of the conversation, and that is resilience. Um, you talked about stepping away and just giving yourself time, right? A breather. But sometimes when we're so bogged down, whether it's caring for a loved one, whether it's work, whether it's your own business, whether it's whatever role you play, stepping away is absolutely necessary because it clears your mind. It gives you a chance to like find space to just be still, right?
Like as a woman, because so much in our culture, speaks to as women, like people pleasing and taking care of each other, and like it's our given nature to want to nurture.
Absolutely.
But I think that for many of us, like it takes a long time to figure out, like I think we spend the first half of our life figuring out how to fit in and be. Now I
Yeah.
need to unbecome everything that I did so that I can just be me from
Mhm.
here forward.
Mhm.
But that means that I have to let go of people pleasing. It means that I have to start letting some people down. It means I have to start setting some boundaries. And it means that I have to, for all the times that we've heard it, put our own mask on first. And it's saying like,
Yes.
I'm going to start every single day with the most important meeting of the day. And that's the one I have with myself.
I think one of the things that we're so used to doing as women, you said it, put your oxygen mask on first. But in that, you talked about boundaries and putting yourself, like the first person I'm going to care for is myself. So, for anybody who's listening to this conversation, I would challenge you that what Karen just said is a quick takeaway. And that is, in what ways can you start to say no to some things? That is such an act of self care and love that I think we ignore.
Human beings need purpose and work.
Yes, yes,
Work is what gets us out of bed and makes us feel motivated.
yeah.
Like when we're living and we're honoring those things and our values, like we all shine, right?
Right, and I talk about this in my first book, Pathway to Purpose. It's think about what feels good to you. Think about, what is valuable to you, because when you do that, then you start to align yourself with those things, and it's easier for you to begin to filter the other things out that don't align with that. And so oftentimes the thing that gets in the way is, well, we don't have time to take care of ourselves. We think that self care is something that takes a lot, that costs a lot. So if I said to you, Karen, for the person who's watching this and is constantly saying that to herself and to himself, depending on if there's some guys popping into the conversation, um, is there one practice that you can say, if you had 5 minutes, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, do this, what would it be?
So I would say that's it's really two.
Okay.
And that is check your posture, because our posture has a profound and massive impact on how and where we live and age, but also how we respond and react to stress.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're not in the right posture, which most of us aren't because we spend a lot of time sitting,
Yeah.
we're instead of using these all day marathon muscles that we have in our body that are super energy efficient, we're using sprint muscles and asking them to run a marathon. Now that takes is a time taker. And when we're in inefficient posture, it changes how we digest food. It changes the level of inflammation in our body. It changes our blood pressure and our heart rate. When we're sitting and we're breathing, and we can breathe better and more, like pause, breathe, put your life mask on,
Mm-hmm.
fill your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us to regulate our system. Our physical wellness is also about our safety. And when we don't feel safe because we're not honoring ourselves, it puts us into a primitive state of mind that then also impacts how we respond to conversations and everything. And so it's like when we check how we sit and stand and how we're breathing, like it really does help us to gain more time in the present and add more time to our life as well.
And it's like, oh, if that's one thing that I can do is to like straighten up my back and just kind of, mm-hmm,
For anybody who's watching, and this is women and men,
mm-hmm,
think about if you had a crown on your head, kind of pick up that crown. You're lengthening yourself. You're drawing your head and neck back over, because a lot of people have this kind of forward head rounded shoulders. With that enhanced C curve in your neck, it puts these muscles on tension, but it also makes people more likely to be snorers, to have sleep apnea, to experience that. But it also changes the rate of degeneration. It also changes the air exchange. To really get that good oxygen perforation and exchange to give their body blood flow and oxygen to survive.
I want to ask you this, as we kind of talked about, you mentioned this a little while ago about communication and the role that communication has when it comes to wellness. I don't think people understand that connection. So talk to us a little bit about, various tools that can be used to assess how we communicate with one another and how that fits into our well-being.
EMCT. So our physical wellness affects mental, mental, physical. They affect how we communicate, and these three things all influence how we experience time. This speaks to the conversations that we have with ourselves, the conversations we have with our family, and the conversations we have with the people around us at work. So basically, we all had, there's like these four different kinds of communication that date all the way back to Hippocrates. Like, this has been around. People have kind of a given nature. Either they're more extroverted or more introverted, generally speaking. And these are broad, sweeping generalizations. But post-pandemic, a lot of us forgot how to connect with people, or we assume that they want to connect and they would do things the way that we do, right? But they don't, And so generally speaking, we have individuals who are more extroverted, or we have individuals who are more introverted. We also have individuals who are more task-oriented or more people-oriented, right? So up here, we'll say we have our more task-oriented, they like to check the boxes.
Yep.
Or we have our more people-oriented individuals. So each one of these has a primary communication style and a primary communication need and an overextension. And so when we're trying to shortcut these conversations with these people, if we can speak to their need, when they're in a primitive fear-based state, it's going to help us to solve problems faster. It's going to help us to better connect with the people around us. Communication and connection are international markers for wellness. Understand what our needs are and what our own overextensions are, and help other people know that. Then that helps us to, recognize that it's not that they're not giving us what they want, it's that they aren't able because they're overextended. So now, when we're talking to people pleasers trying to please somebody else by guessing what they want, hey, here's a shortcut. There's an assessment that you can take. Takes 10 minutes, you get a 33-page report. It helps you understand your own style. It kind of works like an order of operations, and it helps you understand how to connect with people who are of other styles, including your children.
Right. We all have different styles of taking in information. We all have different styles of putting information out. The wellness part comes in because if I come to you, Karen, and I'm anxious and I'm concerned about something, and I display that to you, but you might be the person who's not used to showing or displaying emotion, and you don't know how to connect with me. So what that does for me is it sends me into a place of, my emotions are all over the place. Maybe I feel like I'm unheard, I'm uncared for, I'm not valued. And then that starts to go down this spiral of emotional and perhaps physical and mental unwellness. So what you just said is there is a way for us to figure out what style am I? And then how do I connect with someone else who is either the same style or a different style than me? And that is a part of wellness, the way we communicate, the way we connect, the way we nourish, support, uplift each other is a form of wellness. So if people are interested in digging deeper into figuring out what that looks like for them, how would they do that?
Definitely. So if you're interested in learning more about the assessments or taking an assessment, they can email, myself or you will have information available with this to take the assessment. And then they can have that report, and then, we could even do another session on that specifically. Because again, it helps us to build better relationships at home, at work, and these all help us to enhance, to your point, our physical wellness.
That again, I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. It's more than what I drink, it's more than what I eat, it's more than how I exercise. Wellness and self-care has so many layers. And today we've only scratched the surface, but I'm hoping that we've scratched enough of the surface to give those who are watching an opportunity to say, oh, here's one thing that I can do. I do want to thank my guest, Karen Falkler of Falkler Wellness and Advisory, for being a part of this conversation. It has been enlightening, it has been fun, fulfilling, and more importantly, I hope that it has been as educational to others as it has been for me. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you all again real soon for another episode of True Talk with Ericka Sallee, coming to you in the near future. Take care of yourselves and be well. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a beautiful day.